Hello and welcome to this. My name is Johnny Vedmore. I'm the founder of NewsPaste, and I'm going to tell you some information that the mainstream media won't. And when I'm talking about mainstream media, I'm talking everybody, including the neo-mainstream media, the digital mainstream media. So I'm talking about the BBC, I'm talking about the Mail, Guardian, or I'm talking about the people like Piers Morgan and others who will not report on any of these things or will not let people like me speak freely on their platforms. No. You're not allowed to hear what the truth is. And when you hear the truth, it'll make sense. Tell me, there's a question about Epstein. I'm one of the key Epstein researchers in the world. I have revealed lots about Epstein's connections. I was the first to reveal the Youngkerman connections. I was the first to reveal Musk's training under Epstein-funded programs. I've been the first to reveal loads of different Epstein links to the elites. And I have been carefully mapping out Epstein's operation over a long period. And what people don't seem to understand, they only think that it's one side of the operation, the salacious, the disgusting angle of the operation. But if we were to leave that behind for a second and go to the many other angles Epstein was playing and the other games Epstein was playing, then we'll see how he was helping redesign our entire society. Yes, the society that you're moving into now, the apps that you're looking at, the style of politics, the style of everything. Epstein had his finger in all of those pies in some way or another. He was financing large parts of intelligence black ops, and it's the reason why you're not allowed to know about a lot of what he was doing, because you're not allowed to see the way that the likes of the CIA or the likes of the Mossad, how they use people like Epstein, big financial people, to use the big banks like Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan to smuggle around black operations money. You see, black budgets for things like the CIA, Mossad, MI5 or MI6 are enormous. And you don't just go and open up a checking account in a bank. You need a very special type of financier who can actually, and you need an international money man of mystery, as Landon Donovan called him, Jeffrey Epstein, in the article International Money Man of Mystery that came out in 2002 in the New York Metro. You need someone who understands how to hide the funding, how to use basically the same techniques that the mob were using to traffic funds. That includes buying art and real estate and other things and using that to pay off black operations and things that the CIA don't want you to know about. And that includes everything from the aftermath of September the 11th, whether you want to believe September the 11th was the inside job, which there's 1,000 arrows pointing at that. The aftermath of September the 11th, Epstein and Wexner were very, very involved in. The aftermath of the 9/11 terror attacks led to the vote to go to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Those were very important moments. And the black ops that were funding that was going to be needed for this was going to be massive, enormous. The logistics was going to be enormous. Surely there would be evidence of, if this is true, of Jeffrey Epstein dealing with the top tiers of American military defense and security service programs, and Wexner actually promoting and funding the idea of a war in Iraq. Surely those two things should exist if what I'm saying is true. If what I'm saying is after September the 11th, something unique happened where the Mossad, not that unique, with the Mossad and the CIA worked together to lobby the American government at the higher levels for war. That's I'm being very simplistic there, because really they are totally in cahoots. They're in a mutualistic mutualistic relationship. Many people, including a lot of people who are paid by the CIA, are paid to convince you that Mossad is the enemy and the CIA and Mossad are separate, and that Mossad has a parasitic relationship on the CIA or MI6, and it controls it like a puppet. And the CIA is an innocent party who's never done anything wrong, who's just being controlled by this negative entity. That's what the CIA wants to tell you. If you have people who are giving you that, who are feeding you that, then you are being fed a crock. Because the reality is, it's a mutualistic relationship. Parasitic relationships are one type of relationship. Mutualistic relationships are another type of symbiotic relationship. These are symbiotic relationships. They are in working together. They are cooperating. Israel is just really the 51st state of America, and the Israeli intelligence is working to spread American dominance in the Middle East as well as Israeli dominance. They are working together. There's not one in control of the other. They are totally mutualistic. They are both equally to blame. The Mossad is as equally to blame for the CIA for what they do and working together, but they need people on the ground to confront. So if that's true, if what I'm saying there is true, that they have a mutualistic relationship, then you should be able to find evidence of Jeffrey Epstein and Les Wexner dealing with these people just during the aftermath of September the 11th, if what I'm saying is true. So here you go. On the 1st of September in 2002, Epstein and Nicole Youngkerman were in Foxcoat House, owned by Abigail Wexner, the wife of Les Wexner, and they were meeting two US senators who had just arrived for an 8-day tour of the UK. Those senators were Richard Shelby and Bob Graham. At that time, they were the heads and deputy heads of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. They had access to all of the information from the CIA, the NSA, the FBI. They could ask any of those guys. They are above them all. They can ask any of those for the intelligence they need. And Epstein and a very attractive lady who I've reported on a lot, Nicole Youngkerman, now known as Countess Bracetti Peretti, they met with two US senators in what looks like some form of compromise operation, if you were to believe the fact that they're parasitic relationships. But if you actually look at it as being mutualistic, it was just a business meeting where they were meeting to find out intelligence just before the vote to go to Iraq. The vote would happen a month later. Now, also during this period, 2003, 2004, a leaked memorandum called the Luntz-Wexner analysis, written by pollster Frank Luntz, who works with some of the big parties in the past as a pollster, and Les Wexner, Epstein's biggest funder, made a policy document called the Luntz-Wexner analysis, and it looked at how to convince Americans to go into Iraq, a war in Iraq, with and to popularize the idea of a war in Iraq for the benefit of Israel in Palestine, taking Palestine. The policy document may be about the war in Iraq, but it quickly moves into the fact of how Israel tries to look good and take Palestine at the same time. So it was clear that what they're doing today was what they were planning there. And the policy document, you can go and read it on newspace.com. Scroll down, you'll see on the homepage, you'll see three documents together. You'll see the Epstein Flight Manifest, the Epstein Little Black Book, and you'll see the Luntz-Wexner analysis. You can go and read that yourself, and you will see it was a policy document pushing the Americans into a war with Iraq, and it was carefully posed as well. And Epstein at the same time is meeting with the heads of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. That is pretty clear evidence that they're systematically involved at a high level. And there was on that plane, right? Because Nicole Youngkerman and Jeffrey Epstein left on the last day of August, and they went from Paris and they went to Birmingham Airport, and then they went down to Foxcote House where they met with the Intelligence Select Committee. There's none of the young girls, none of Epstein's whole operation. That's how I first noted it at the start, which was about 2017-18 when I first noted Nicole Youngkerman's flight being an anomaly, because he wasn't flying with any of his entourage. He usually had some of his entourage, or he used the plane to bring people to him. This was a different thing. This was much different. This was obviously secretive to some extent. So understanding that, he was having secret meetings, which, may I say as well, were what are reports to me, which I can't completely tell you all my sources, but the reports I got were that there were intelligence services from the UK there, and that isn't a surprise because Bob Graham and Richard Shelby were doing an 8-day tour, and they were heads of the Center Select Committee on Intelligence. They're two of the most important people in America. They're bound to be protected. But this means that, and this is one of the things that the mainstream media will not dare report. It means that the MI6, Ministry of Defense, the Army, police, whoever in the UK not only knew about these meetings, but had representatives protecting Epstein, meeting secretly with senators just before the run-up to the Iraq War. So to the vote to the Iraq War. That is serious. That means UK taxpayers' money has been spent on helping Epstein meet with senators in secret in the UK to get people to go to war in Iraq, and basically to have a war in Iraq, something that our own government used faked evidence and falsified evidence to support the going to war in Iraq. That is extremely serious. Not only that, but the fact that no MSM channel will report on the fact that they met, that Epstein and Youngkerman were in the UK and were meeting with senators of that high level. None of them will talk about that. None of them. I'm the only one so far to be reporting on this. There is I've been reporting on some of this. I've been reporting on for 7 years, and none of the mainstream media will tell you about this. And it's very much for an important reason. You'll see how much Israel is involved in pushing war, especially targeting the UK. And we're going to talk about the UK's government's involvement in such activities in the next video too. Thank you for joining me. This is the first part of something that's really important. It's a news-paced production with me, Johnny Vedmore. You can go and you can look on YouTube or X or any other site. You can find me, and you can find Newspaste there. You can also go to newspaste.com, where you'll find all links to all of the articles and all the different videos. There's a lot of work out there that is being hidden from you, and you can only find it by going to look yourself. So please do it. Please don't let them spoon feed you information. Instead, go look yourself. Go look at the sources. Go look at the little links within the articles that send you down rabbit holes that help you understand what's really going on. I've been Johnny Vedmore on Newspaste. Thank you very much.
It's me, the money man of mystery, your big bad buddy, Jeffrey Edward Epstein. I'm coming again to explain why Israel can't be blamed for the Twin Towers or the planes. How about the dossier, the vials? How about Saddam? How about his trials? How about the Bin Laden terrorist fighters? How about al-Nusra Front? How about Al-Qaeda? How about the Goyim children dying in the streets? How about Greater Israel? How about the Goyim children starving at my feet? How about Greater Israel? It's me, the Rothschild puppet master, Epstein, the high-level disaster forecaster. I'm coming again to explain why Israel can't be blamed for the Twin Towers or the claims. How about we feed you full of news? How about we trade you, we tell you what is true? How about we hurt you, lead you to our proof? How about we train you to be some and samba Jews? It's me, your Zionist zaddy, your big bad buddy Jeffrey Edward Epstein. I'm coming again to explain why Israel can't be blamed for the Twin Towers. Oh, the blood is our vows. We take back what is ours. We win the final war. We take back what is ours. We create greater Israel. We take back what is ours. We win the final war. How about me? How about me? How about me? How about Jeffrey? How about me? How about me? How about me? How about me? How about Jeffrey? How about me? How about me? How about me? How about me? How about the international money man of mystery?